OnePlus 10T is very good a smartphone with premium build quality, a great display, top tier performance and insanely fast charging speeds. At $650, it's also one of the best value high-end smartphones with Qualcomm's powerful and power-efficient Snapdragon 8 Plus Zen 1 chipset. It's the first time a OnePlus T phone is being sold alongside the older model while also bearing a near identical design, but the two phones have quite a lot of differences under their hoods. Thankfully, the OnePlus 10T is a superb phone, but it does struggle to justify its price given the existence of company's own Note 2T, which has the same rear cameras, performs well for a mid-ranger, and costs a lot less. You had been forgotten for mistaking the OnePlus 10T for the older OnePlus 10 Pro given their very similar looking rear plates. On the 10T, the camera module has 4 distinctive rings with 3 camera lenses joined by a circular flash in the top right position. I didn't like the look at first, but it has grown on me much like the green hue of my Z Green review sample has. Its glossy finish made of Corning Gorilla Glass 5 instantly picks up fingerprints but does make the phone grippier and is finished off with glossy silver side rails. It's good looking, great feeling phone although it slides off flat surfaces including tables with the slightest nudge. A case is required to avoid impact disaster. The camera bump melts into Unibeauty frame beautifully with no seams, though I suspect the matte finish of the alternative Moonstone Black model, which is an iQoo inspired by texture of basalt, would better evade fingerprints and appeal more to most color cautions smartphone buyers. Sorely missed on the 10T is OnePlus signature alert slider, the small 3-position switch that changes many of the company's other phones from ring to vibrate to silent and has been present on all its flagship until now, including 2020's 10 Pro and mid-range Note 2T. OnePlus says it left it off the 10T as the component takes up space inside the device, which would have had to have been thicker and bigger to accommodate it, as well as large 2-cell battery. The company preferring the latter, Apple puts a 2-position mute switch on its all iPhones, but no other Android manufacturers have such a hardware switch, and it's a shame it's not on the 10T. The only buttons on the phones are the power or lock button on the right edge and a single piece volume rocker on the left. On the bottom edge, there's a USB-C port and a down-firing speaker that pairs with the thin earpiece at the top of the phone to create a stereo pair. Haptics on the 10T are tight and punchy, though on the default setting the keyboard feedback makes an audible ding when it's very quiet that I found a little annoying. Otherwise, the physical feedback from the system is very good. One small thing to note is there's only a free protective case included in the box in India, with the rest of the world missing out. The phone also does not have an official IP rating for dust and water resistance, which is frustrating at this price. The OnePlus 10T is blazing fast. It's got the Snapdragon 8 Plus Zen 1 chipset, which is basically an overclocked 8 Plus Zen 1. The processor found in the OnePlus 10 Pro, Sony Xperia 1 IV, Vivo X80 Pro, Galaxy S22 Ultra, and several other high-end Android phones. In GFX benchmark performance states we run on every phone we review, the 10T is scored amongst the best scores we have ever seen, hitting 59 FPS fps or 60 fps for each test, 60 fps being the highest possible score, but it scored slightly lower on Geekbench Smarty's core CPU test than the OnePlus 10 Pro and 2021's 9 Pro for that matter, which in my book shows two things: that the noticeable gains in mobile processors are incredibly minimal at the top end and are hard to measure, and that benchmark numbers only tell you half the story. The other half of the tale is day-to-day uses, where the 10T absolutely sinks. OnePlus says to think of the 10 Pro as the camera phone and the 10T as the performance phone, and the 10T lives up to this billing. I never saw dropped frames or shuttering animations. Although OnePlus software is quite unrecognizable from a few years ago, its flagship phones are still near flawless when it comes to performance out of the box. I tested the phone for more than a week on GiveGap's a 5G network in the UK and roaming in New York City, and the phone performed admirably. I don't fully buy into OnePlus hint that it is noticeably more performant in everyday uses than the 10 Pro, but it is clearly a stunningly quick device. There's a whopping 16 GB of RAM in my review unit that kept umpteen apps running in the background to instantly pick up where you left off. Suffice to say, playing demanding mobile games is an absolute breeze for this phone. You can also opt for a version with 8 GB of RAM and 128 GB of storage, while Indian customers can choose a third 12 GB RAM and 256 GB option. Storage is non-expandable, though there is dual physical SIM capacity.